Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Kevin Racinos and I'm the Product Manager of Routers here at AXYZ Automation Group. Joined on the call today are my colleagues Noel Archie and Jim Heenan. And from SAI, we have Bobby Cagle and EJ Nodurf. Today's presentation is focused on print-to-cut, which is a process used primarily in the science and graphics industry to represent the workflow of a customer. The process is typically represented by the application of a print onto flat sheet material, which will then be placed onto a CNC router or knife cutting machine to cut the individual printed parts. Our guest from SAI will demonstrate how SAI's Flexi and Enro software can be used to produce graphic files that could be sent to a printer or to a CNC machine. Feature-wise, we will focus on the AXYZ Vision System, or AVS for short, and how it is used for digital print finishing, where the camera is able to quickly find and recognize conventional registration marks and adjust the machine cutting path as necessary to achieve exact alignment with printed shapes. For any questions regarding AXYZ routers or SAI software, please forward them through the chat box or email us at openhouse@axyz.com. We will do our best to take up all the questions at the end of the presentation. I also want to highlight that all the tools used today can be found on cncshop.com, and the list of tools will be sent to you directly along with our follow-up email. Okay, now we will move on to our demonstrations.
Hi there, my name is Noel Archie. I'm the Applications Manager here at AAG. Welcome to another one of our web sessions. In this particular web session, we're discussing the print-to-cut application, and we were looking at it based on our AXYZ Vision System, or AVS as we call it. We'll be discussing it based on 3 of our different platforms that we produce. And we'll see how, even though the platforms may be slightly different in their variation and configuration, they can all be configured to run the AVS system. So we're going to jump right into it and give you an overview of each of the machines before we start running the jobs. Thank you.
The AVS camera is what's used for finding the registration marks. We have 3 different dots, an A, B, and C dot. You can use them in any combination you see fit. On this particular job, we use 4 C dots. Dots are typically about 1/4 inch in diameter. We want to get good contrast between the dot and the surface. Once we go into our AVS app, the first thing we'll do is basically look for the registration marks. We'll look for the first registration mark that we want to find. And that registration mark is sequenced in the job when setting it up. So I'll find the first dot. Usually I have to basically point to the first dot. Depending on how the system is set up, I'll have to find the second dot. Once the second dot has been located, the system can find the third and the fourth dot on its own. Once this finds the 4th registration mark, it will adjust the vectors accordingly, and you simply select the start button and we'll start running the job.
As you have just seen, the way the job gets set up using our AVS app, a basic explanation of what that process looks like. On the front end of that, we would have created a file using, for this particular webinar, we use Flexi and Enro. Now we're ready to run the job. You can see we've printed the images on the acrylic. We have the registration marks that the AVS system will go out there and find. So now the job is ready to go. Simply have to basically hit start. So I'll turn on my cold air gun. So we're finished cutting our first project. Again, out of 1/2 inch acrylic. Pull this out here. As you can see, we got a nice clean cut. No chips left in the bed. Again, because of the way our dust collection is set up, the use of our bellows to give you a nice good seal in terms of dust collection, the cold air gun moving the chips around, it allows you to evacuate the chips better, which will basically help in terms of the cut process, in terms of the edge quality that you will produce. Again, on this Infinite, we've just processed 1/2 inch acrylic using our AVS system. Okay, this is our Trident series. Similar to the Infinite we looked at earlier, this is a 4010 model, but with some unique differences. One of the differences is that this has 2 knives. This particular knife, the tangential knife, works with our line rack, my 4-position line rack, allowing me to run an automated knife process. I can switch between knives without having to get involved in terms of manually changing tools. Next to that is my electric oscillating knife. And then we move on to our spindle and ATC. So similar to the Infinite, I have a 10 horsepower spindle and a 10-position ATC. Another unique aspect of this machine is that it traverses at 2,200 inches a minute. And I have a lot faster Z process. So for this particular application, we have a higher feed rate, a higher plunge rate to basically get you a higher throughput. Okay. So now we're going to run the AVS job on the Trident. Our camera is located right here between our electric oscillating knife and our spindle. Similar with the one we run on the Infinite, we had the registration marks. We're cutting foam board now, which we'll be cutting with the knife. We still have our registration marks to cut our images. I'll move over here and get the job running, and you'll see how this runs. Okay, so we're just finishing processing this job on the Trident. It's 1/4 inch foam board. Again, you get a nice clean cut, high processing speed. We're cutting it out using our electric oscillating knife. This is our Innovator. It's our entry-level model. It comes in a 5x8 and a 4x4 size. What's the beautiful thing about this machine is that you can buy the base model, right? But it comes pre-wired for all the standard options. Our 3-position ATC, upgrading to the 5 horsepower quick change spindle, cold air gun. You can add a knife, whether it be a tangential knife or an oscillating knife onto this, and the AVS system. So if you purchase based on your setup right now, the base model without the tool change or any of the other options, at any given time, you can reach out to our aftermarket team and say, you know what, I want to upgrade my system and add an ATC to it. Depending on the spindle you have, you can just add the ATC by itself. I want to add a cold air gun. And since the system is pre-wired, I can basically bolt on any of these ready options and get running within a couple of hours. Okay, so just finished running this job on the Innovator. Another AVS job. This time we cut 5mm pal board, single pass. You know, great dust collection, nice clean finish. With any of the machines that we run, one of the things that we really emphasize is proper dust collection. We use the 5Y on the pal board as well as when we cut the acrylic. The reason being is that we want to be sure we don't touch the material when we're processing it, so we don't scratch the surface. So again, every machine we build is purpose built for that particular application, but it can be modified depending on what you're trying to do. So we've kind of come to the end of our cutting part of the webinar. We process 3 different platforms, 3 different types of materials. Innovator. This is our entry-level model. I call it the ready model. It comes pre-wired for all the standard options that you can buy for it. You can buy the base model, and as time goes on, you can add options as you see fit. Whether it be the 3-position ATC, automatic tool changer spindle, the mister, the cold air gun, or a knife. On this machine, we process 5mm pal board. One of the things we pride ourselves on is good, very solid chip collection. Chip collection has a huge impact in terms of edge quality and cycle time. Right? So we move from the Innovator, or entry-level model, we move over to our Infinite series. The Infinite platform, again, depending on what you're doing, all our machines are, I call it purpose-built. It's built for the application you want to apply it to. But we also do tailoring. So I can take this standard, 4010 automatic tool changer Infinite, and the customer decides I need a 12-foot wide machine, 52-foot processing length, 24-inch clearance, 36-inch stroke. Now that goes into our tailored business, where we can now decide, based on the customer's particular unique application, we will configure, design, and engineer that machines to fit that need. So even though this is purpose-built for this particular process, it is fully tailorable. Moving from the Infinite, we move over to our Trident. The Trident is purpose-built for the printer cut industry. We've added a couple of features to it. Our Z-stroke is quite a lot quicker for this particular model because we have rack and pinion drives. 2 knives, tang knife, 4-position tool changer, oscillating knife electric, AVS camera, 10 horsepower spindle, 10-position tool changer. Automatic light sensor for basically aligning your oscillating knife. All the different things you would need for this particular process or application. So it is purpose-built for this, but that doesn't mean we couldn't modify it or tailor it to suit your unique needs. On this machine, we cut 4mm foam board, or 1/4-inch foam board. So we build purpose-built machines that will suit your application, but within that platform, we can now tailor it to suit any requirement or any need you might have based on your application.
Hello and welcome to our presentation today. My name is Bobby and I'm with SAI and with Flexi. I also have EJ with me today, who is with Enroute. We're going to show you how to do precision cutting of graphics that have been printed on a flat sheet and then moved to the AXYZ router to cut out with their camera option. So what I'm going to do today is show you how to design the graphics, add the contour cuts, and move them over to Enroute. And then EJ is going to take over and show you how you take them from Enroute all the way to the router table and get them to cut out with precision accuracy. Let's get started. So first thing I'm going to do is bring up a blank sheet here. And if you'll notice this sheet, what Flexi does is it has an artboard on here for you. Artboard's not really there, but for what we want to do today, we're going to put these on a 4x4 sheet of material. So let's go ahead and design this in a 4x4 sheet. So I can just take 48 by 48, and there we go. Now we have a 4x8 sheet. So let's bring some graphics in here. I've got some logos right here. We're just going to go ahead and bring these 4 in, import them in like this, and I can go ahead here and just put them on here right like that. Now the last graphic down here, most of these graphics, if you'll notice, they're vectored images and they've just got the border around them. But this last one down here, I've got a square around my Corona logo. What this means, this has an extra mask from being brought in from Illustrator or a PDF. So let's go ahead and unmask this, and then very quickly I can get rid of that extra border. So now when I select it, you'll see I have an oval, and that's what we're going to use for our contour cut. All right, so let's take all these right here, and let's align them to each other. Let's just make sure they're nice and straight up and down. The one thing we also do have to do is, since I've been messing with this logo, is let's group this together here. So now when we do this, we get a nice straight up and down graphic here. Now once we've done this, let's change our spacing in between here. Just make sure they're all evenly spaced. So we're going to go here, we're going to go to spacing. Let's do our spacing up and down. And let's say we make this 4.5 inches. And then we'll just click our check mark to make it go. So now we've got our graphics spaced exactly 4.5 inches apart. The next thing we're going to do here is let's just kind of grab these, and then we're going to make some copies of them. We're going to move them over here, and then also move them over here. And then very quickly with Flexi, I can actually take this group, and let's just align the tops of them all together. Just like this, we're going to hit align, and now they're all aligned, top to bottom, and left to right. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to make them all into one group, and then we're going to center them on the page, both centers. So now everything is all centered right here together. All right, the next thing we need to do is add a contour cut line to this. The way we do that in Flexi, it makes it really easy. All you have to do is select your objects, and we have a icon on here, which is our contour cut icon. So with one click of a button, I can actually add a contour cut to every one of these designs. I'm telling it that it's got a 1/4 inch border around it, and it's ready to go. I'm happy with that, so let's click my check mark. All right, now I'm done with that. So we've gotten our objects in here. We have our contour cut. The next thing we need to do is add some marks so that the router knows where these graphics are based on these iCut marks or video marks that it will read to know where the graphics are. So in order to do that, I basically select my image like I've done here. Let's just select everything we've got. And then we're going to go to my iCut icon, which is right here, iCut marks. Now, one thing that's done is it's put 4 marks. Now, you can, some tables like to have more marks than others. We're actually just going to leave this right here at 5 marks. It's set to 5. The AXYZ router actually only needs 4. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of one of those. Let's go ahead and click our check mark. We're going to get rid of one of these marks on the icon here. In order to do that, I need to convert them to outlines so it knows what they are, and then I can now come in here and select one of the little points and get rid of it. So now our graphic is all ready to go. We've got our graphic, we've got contour cut lines, we've got the registration marks for the router to be able to read and know where the cut lines are based on those registration marks. So at this point, what we do is we send this job to our en route program so it can take the DXF file, know what those cut lines are, and be able to cut them out. And with Flexi, instead of having to export it out as a job and then import it into another program, we have a send to en route button. And once you click the send to en route button, the en route program will actually open up for you when you have a program. And what we've got here is EJ is going to be taken over from here. So EJ has the en route program on his computer. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to EJ. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bobby. Before we send these files over to en route, we want to make sure we send over just the files we want to cut. So I'm going to select just the contour cuts and the fiducial marks. The easy way to do that is to go here to the edit menu. I'm going to go down to the selection function, and I'm going to say select by attributes. That gives me a few different attributes I can select by, and we're going to go to the stroke tab and click on cut contour. When I hit OK now, it will have just those cut contours selected and not all those internal parts to the file. Now I'm going to hold my shift key down and drag a little box around these cut marks, and that's going to help me make sure I have just the cut marks and the cut contours selected. Now, if I wanted to, I could go to the file menu and export this for use with any software that can output the AXYZ, but the easiest way to create the output would be to go to Enroute. And so I just hit the Send to Enroute button. What that's going to do is that's going to open up Enroute and put these contours on screen. I'm going to go to the Define plate and add a 4x4 plate with a 1/2 inch material thickness. And now I can see these shapes are centered right directly in the middle of the plate. The first thing I want to do is to have the camera go to these marks, and we're going to do that using the drill centers, but I don't have to select just the circles. I can go here and select everything, and when I go to the drill command, I can see that there is a option to just apply this mark into where the circles are, and I actually have saved this so that I don't have to enter this information every time. All I have to do is pull this up from the list of saved strategies, and when I hit OK, because that's going to apply to circles only, it will put a drill tool into each of those circles. When we output the file, those drills will get a tool 1000, and that's what tells the AXYZ controller to activate the camera. The next thing we're going to do is select all these internal components, and this is going to allow us to put a type of cut contour on here. Now, different materials will get a different kind of a cut. For a piece of a 1/2 inch acrylic, to cut these out, we would use a routing offset. So I'm going to come up here to the toolpath and use routing offset. And I'm going to use an existing strategy, again, one that I've saved for this purpose. And this tool makes the use of a rough tool and a clean tool. The rough tool would go almost all the way through the material, leaving just a little bit of material along the edge of the part, and the clean tool will come along and clean that material from the edge of the part, as well as releasing it from the plate. And of course, if you want to add bridges to be able to keep the part in place, you can do that as well. So here I'm going to hit OK, and that's going to apply my routing offset toolpath to the shape selected. You can see the start points here have been put in the longest position of those parts, and we're ready to output this. So the process of bringing these cut contours and cut marks over from Flexi, applying the path, and outputting them to the AXYZ machine are quite simple. Now I'll come here and go to the output options. I have my AXYZ driver selected. I'm going to make sure that it does the drills or the camera first, the cutout second, and I'm going to say to file. And we will call this the AXYZ 4x4 2 and create the output. Now we can come here to the backplot program, and this will actually allow us to see the G code. And we can see that it's using tool 1000 to grab the camera and go to the correct locations. If I want to look at this in a perspective view, I can do that. And we can see that it's doing the cutout tool pass as well. So it's a pretty easy workflow to go from printing to send it to the Enroute and then have the camera and the cutouts happen at the same location as the print. So this has been an overview of SAI's Flexi software and Enroute software for print and cut using an AXYZ CNC router.